Well done, Roger, and we always admire the likes of yourselves who share personal experiences and that apart from your own skills. And I actually met Roger in Mountjoy where he was doing, I was on a recent visit there where he was doing one of his programs with some prisoners there on the day. Okay, I'm going to move on, and Dr. Ian Marder from Maynooth University, and Dr. Marder is going to talk to us on the issue of restorative justice. Thank you, Ian.
Thanks, Paul. So, hi everyone. I'm a criminologist at Maynooth University, and my research is in the areas of policing and criminal justice reform, and also restorative justice and victim services. And I teach criminal justice, drug policy, and drug policing, among other topics. I'm here with my colleague, Dr. Cian O'Cahor, at the back there. You may have seen us speaking and writing in the media recently, where we've been advocating for members of the Assembly to hear more international evidence on the merits of different regulatory models, and also more evidence on the impact of policing and punishment on human behavior. So we will be here all day to answer any questions you might have about that, and our submissions on those topics are also on the members area of the website, thanks to Cahill. But this talk will be on restorative justice, which is a process whereby a victim of crime and the person responsible are offered the chance to communicate, whether in person or indirectly, like mediation. So you can see a picture of people in a room there talking about what happened. That's also what a courtroom is, right? Is people in a room talking about it. But unlike a courtroom, what this involves is the people most affected by the crime deciding together how to address, repair, and prevent the harm that was done. It is also voluntary and facilitated by a professional. And importantly, this is something you can do at any stage of the criminal justice process and with any type of crime. So, if someone drunkenly damages a car, or hits someone, or steals something from a shop, then the assault victim, the car owner, or the shopkeeper can be offered the chance to meet them. They get to say how the offense affected them, maybe ask questions, ask why they did it, and then explore together how to make amends and prevent it from happening again. So in situations like this, maybe this could happen instead of prosecution. But of course, if the crime is very serious, then the person might be sentenced at court to either a community or a custodial sentence in prison, and the victim can still be offered the opportunity to meet them, whether during or after the sentence, even going into the prison and talking to them, having that same conversation. This is how it affected me. I'm curious. I have these questions. Why did you do it? Seeking maybe understanding, remorse, or reassurances. So there's a lot of evidence on this process, and the key point here is that it helps both people. The research shows that restorative justice helps victims to feel better, to recover from crime. It has very high levels of victim satisfaction compared to the court process. What we also know from the research on victims' experiences at court is that court is usually a very damaging process for the victim of crime. Criminal justice ultimately is not designed to meet victims' needs, even all going well. Restorative justice also supports prevention by involving people in deciding how they can stop offending. So if people need drug treatment or mental health treatment, or if they need to make amends to a victim, or even to reconnect with their own family, any possible combination of things you can do, restorative justice enables this. And crucially, people are more likely to follow through with outcomes where they were involved in deciding them, as opposed to outcomes that people feel are imposed on them by courts or other professionals. So they consent to these decisions. And in contrast, the research clearly shows that criminal records and sending people to prison often make reoffending more likely. So restorative justice should absolutely always be offered for offenses with direct victims. It can also happen for crimes without direct victims, such as drug possession. So what you're looking at here is a video recreation on YouTube of a process that exists in Ireland. It's not used a lot, but what you can do in, for example, drug possession, is that the court can refer someone who's been charged to this process in between conviction and sentencing. And in lieu of there being a really direct victim, like in an assault, the person who has been charged can meet with volunteers from the community, professionals representing the state, and so on. Again, having a really similar conversation about addressing and preventing harm. But again, there's no necessary victim, direct victim in this situation. But one thing I would say is that if you were to recommend the decriminalization or legal regulation of drugs, and I am absolutely of the view that you should definitely be doing that, then you don't need restorative justice for drug possession. Because right now, someone ends up here because drug possession involves law breaking. But restorative justice is not really about who broke the law, how do we punish them. It's about addressing and repairing harm and meeting people's needs. And what the research shows is that the main responsibility for the harm caused by problem drug use lies not with the individual person using, but with the current legal framework. Or in other words, the criminalization of drug use causes harm. It is absolutely a harmful thing to exist. As we heard this morning about stigma, that is what that is. Criminal law is absolutely designed to stigmatize. Great question about how can you have less stigma under criminalization. It is designed to stigmatize. So under decriminalization, where drug use causes harm, you would have a health response, like with alcohol now. Now again, if a person commits an offense with a direct victim, right, burglary, violence, and so on, if that's because of problem drug use, then you can offer restorative justice within the criminal justice context. And that can be either without going to court at all, where appropriate, or perhaps during or after court, where that's appropriate too, like what happens now with alcohol-related crime. So this will meet victims' needs. It will help prevent reoffending by helping people to address their underlying issues with drugs or alcohol. And I've seen fantastic restorative processes in my own research where people's offending and other problems in their lives are a result of their problem drug use, and meeting with their victim or even their own family and community representatives help them understand the harm, understand their own problems, and motivates them to change. Punishment absolutely does not provide that motivation. So, the decades of research on this in criminal justice, in policing, in criminology, shows that the current law, where the possession of drugs is criminalized, does not deter problem drug use, and it makes public and individual health worse. The current law does that, actively causes that. So restorative justice, if you think of it more broadly as a philosophy, values, a way of doing things, it does not say that people caught with drugs should be punished or stigmatized. Quite the opposite. Restorative justice would say that we have to repair harm. So under a holistic model of decriminalization where you recommend investing in health services and all these different things, the restorative justice there would be to repair the harm to the very communities and individuals that themselves have been harmed actively by the war on drugs. So in some countries, for example, where they're looking at decriminalizing or regulating drugs, they're also looking at expunging or removing the criminal records from the people who have been, they now accept, wrongly, unjustly criminalized in that process. This is absolutely something that we should do here. Thank you so much. So my last slide. Number one, recommendation, I'm not going to beat around the bush, offer restorative justice for all offenses with victims, whether caused by problem drug use or not, frankly. Secondly, the absolute minimum legal change that I would hope you guys will propose is decriminalizing drug possession to stop the criminalization of people who use drugs from causing harm, to stop the criminalization causing harm. And finally, to provide reparation for the people who are harmed by the war on drugs as part of your holistic recommendations on change. And you heard last time that justice has to be cruel, that it doesn't matter anyway because only 11,000 people are prosecuted last year for drug possession. But to that I say, absolutely not. It's the injustice that has to be cruel. How can justice be cruel? Injustice is cruel. Restorative justice, as a way of doing things, requires compassion and a recognition that we should give people the opportunity to achieve their potential and contribute positively to society, recognizing that change is possible. And a very final point, whatever you recommend will definitely be watered down, 100%. So please don't be afraid to ask for lots of change if you believe that even some change is warranted. Thank you.
Yep.